Happened now on Grid Tonight. Josh Williams did one race for disobeying race control last weekend in Atlanta. Does this send a strong enough message to prevent something like this from happening again? Kevin Harvick will run a special paint scheme and number in the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. Can the closer win for one final time in the number 29? General Motors announced the sixth generation Chevrolet Camaro is at the end of the road. How will this impact Chevy's motorsports program, particularly in NASCAR? Hello to all our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. With me, we have Ben Snyder filling in for Joshua Burt and Performance Index. We encourage everyone to chat to comment in the chat below and ask any questions you may have. Now, here's Ben with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. We begin tonight with the story regarding Josh Williams and the Xfinity race this past weekend. After refusing to take his car to the garage and order directly from NASCAR Race Control, Josh Williams has been suspended from this Saturday's Xfinity race at Circuit of the Americas. We all remember the scene of Williams parking his number 92 DGM Racing Chevrolet Camaro at the start-finish line, getting out of his car and walking to pit road as he showed his displeasure towards the tower. A few nights ago on Grid Live Encore, Brandon Crossland and I reacted to this situation. We figured NASCAR would have to send a message here, and now we have our answer. Now, Williams released a statement today saying, after the release of NASCAR's statement today and the penalty from Atlanta, I want to take the time to say thank you. I want to thank every one of my sponsors for their continued support. Ally Employer Services, Call811.com, Cool Ray Heating, Cooling, Plumbing and Electrical, Starbright, Startron, Sleepwell Incorporated, General Formulations, and Peg Leg Porker. Thank you to all the fans for sticking by my side and showing love. I stand behind what I did, and I don't regret any decision I made. I stand behind NASCAR for these decisions and will continue and always continue to support them. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I hope the loyal fans of NASCAR continue to fill the infields and grandstands. We will be back stronger than ever and ready to get the number 92 DGM Racing Team Chevy back up front. Peace and love, Josh Williams. Ultimately, just a one-race suspension, no fine, is coming Williams' way. Alex Labbe will be in the 92 at COTA, with Williams set to return the following weekend at Richmond Raceway. Photo taken by Mike Mulholland of Getty Images. Matt, we'll start with you. Do you think Williams receiving a one-race suspension for his behavior is the right amount, and are you surprised NASCAR didn't come down harder on him?
First off, shots. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. It's been a week of NASCAR penalties, hasn't it? We had all the Hendrick stuff last week and the Denny appeal and everything else, and now we've got this going on. I didn't get round to watching the Saturday races from Atlanta, but by all accounts, both of them were fractious, and this was the cherry on top of the cake. If you're called in, you're called in. You can't decide, surely, that, do what you want. There was I saw some people on Twitter over the last couple of days trying to compare it to Kyle Busch parking in the pit entry gap at Darlington last year or the year before. It was a very different situation. Josh just decided he was going to park it there and make a statement, and he's done that. Lots of fallout from it afterwards. I think that his line, wasn't it, when he clambered over the pit wall of, what are they going to do? Find me, I can't pay anyway. He seems to have stuck because he's got away monetarily wise. He's actually gained out of all of this in some respects, with what's been going on over the last couple of days and all the media appearances he's done and the T-shirts and stuff that's going to be going on. The penalty, I think probably does fit the crime, but I think that they probably should have parked not just him but the team this week, because probably we know how good Alex Labbe is on road courses. He's probably going to have a decent chance of a top 10. So look out for that on Saturday at COTA. But for me, I'm not quite sure the penalty is just. I think they should have parked the team as well as the driver.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, typically NASCAR wouldn't, park an entire team unless they have like this big thing that they did. But I mean, the thing is NASCAR had to do something, because the thing is, it's like, if they didn't, it's down the road. What are people going to do? It's like, there's going to be a precedent has been set now if they didn't. So, but I think this is kind of turned into don't do this, but it's also kind of turned into, but I think what it's kind of I don't think it surprises me because obviously, I know Josh Williams pretty well. The sponsors that he has are very loyal to him, and obviously this guy does a lot for charities and hospital visits and everything that of course I don't know if you guys saw his new t-shirts that he has with you can't park here or that. So obviously he respects NASCAR's decision. He's handling it the way I expected him to, and he'll learn from this and not do it again.
Clay Greenfield sent out a tweet. I guess this would have been, what is today? So this is just afternoon today, actually, the 22nd. He says, from a business perspective, I feel like this is still a net gain for Josh and his team. The additional exposure and potential sponsorship that will come from this will most likely outweigh missing a race. And, Matt, to your point, putting Alex Labbe in that car this weekend, I think, they still have a good chance at the top 10, maybe even a little bit better than that. So I think from that perspective, I don't think it's going to hurt Williams' bottom line very much. And I think this might actually be preferable for a team like his to have the driver sit out a race and have somebody fill in and the team still be able to compete anyway than to have him pay a fine. And I don't know if Denny Hamlin was serious or not when he said he would be willing to pay the fine on Williams' behalf. But, I can't say I'm surprised it was only one race. I know some people were suggesting maybe it would be 2 races. I think in line with, some similar penalties that have been handed down in the past, I don't think, more than a race would have been, something that we should have expected here. So I can't say I'm shocked about that, but I will say I made this point on Encore as well. I think a lot of people are looking at this as Josh Williams being a popular underdog in the Xfinity series, and free Josh trending on Twitter, people thinking that NASCAR told him to park the car and he did, so what's the problem? But I think when we take the driver out of it and put another driver in that position, like we were talking backstage, if this had been Ty Gibbs in the Xfinity series last year, do you think free Ty is trending on Twitter? I personally don't think it is. So I think that we have to look at the situation regardless of who's involved. And, you park your car, defying NASCAR's orders and walk across a hot racetrack's infield. We can point to incidents in the past that maybe didn't warrant a suspension. A friend of mine was in a group chat that I'm in was, talking about, times where drivers have walked across hot racetracks and thrown their helmets at cars. And, Robbie Gordon coming to mind on Michael Waltrip, Tony Stewart on Matt Kenseth, Bristol several years ago. Those guys didn't get suspended there. So is this really anything worse than that? And if it's not, how does it justify a suspension? You could argue maybe suspension should have been considered in those instances there, but you can't change what happens in the past. You can only set a precedent going forward in the future. So as long as this is ruled consistently in the future, and anybody who tries something similar to this gets suspended as well, just as Josh Williams did, I can't say I really have a problem with it. I see Josh Birch is in the chat room. Josh, it's an honor to be filling in for you once again. We certainly hope you're feeling better and hope to see you again next week. But thank you for tuning in the meantime. So, and he's got one more comment as well. I see. No, the free Josh is to let me out my room and downstairs. I'm isolating to protect family. Well, that's good. We certainly, like I said, Josh, wish you all the best as you continue to recover. So, Casey, I'll turn this one over to you as a follow-up. Since the penalty wasn't as severe as some of us expected, does it concern you that drivers will be more emboldened to challenge race control over questionable calls in the future?
I don't think so, because here's the thing, though. I think they know what would happen if they challenged, race control. I mean, obviously, there's going to be precedents and times, and who knows what could happen in the future. But you really just don't see, that happening. I mean, you could see that happen down the road, but I think that's why they suspended him for a week, and which is why they handed down the penalty today to prevent this from happening. Look, the last thing NASCAR wants to do is be people challenging the system. The fans would certainly like to see that. Everyone loves when the little man stands up for, I should say, the little man stands up to the big corporation or the big. It's why everyone, pulls for the unions and not the big corps or something like that. Or that's a whole nother issue that we should not get into here. But I just think it's. I just don't think I don't think you'll see that. But who knows? What do I know?
Yeah, back to your walking across hot tracks comment before, Ben. That was also cited in the Bubba Wallace suspension, wasn't it, at the end of last season? I know there was other factors at play in that, but he also did walk across a hot track not wearing a helmet. So it's not something that hasn't happened for a while kind of deal. Yeah, there's always going to be questionable calls, isn't there? I mean, we go to Talladega in a few weeks. We could see passes below the line get called back, like Regan Smith style, or anything like that. But you can't just keep challenging the system because what you think is right. At the end of the day, they're the referee. This could mean nothing to you guys, but rugby, the referee has the final say. And unlike soccer, where everyone charges the referee and tries to get in their ear, in rugby, the referee has to say, this is what's happening, and we just get on with the game. And I think NASCAR is going to take that mindset going forward. We've called the penalty. This is what happens if you do the wrong thing or disobey an order as such. We may never see anything like that happen again. It might just be a one-off thing, but let's see how we go through the rest of the season, and we may never talk about this again or for another 3 or 4 years or whatever. But the line is the line, and NASCAR have put their line in the sand with this one, I feel.
I'll take your word for it, Matt. I've been picking up soccer in the last few months. I haven't quite gotten around to watching as much rugby as maybe I should be, so I'll take your word for it on that. But in the meantime, we'll move on here. Last Thursday night on NASCAR Race Hub, Kevin Harvick announced a major throwback paint scheme and car number for the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro Speedway in May. When the NASCAR Cup Series returns to North Wilkesboro, Harvick won't be behind the wheel of a number 4, but for one race only, he's switching numbers, going back to a number very special to him, dating back to his days at Richard Childress Racing, number 29. He'll be running a throwback paint scheme with Busch Light sponsorship from his special win at Atlanta in 2001, when he won in only his third Cup start, only weeks after losing Dale Earnhardt. As most of you know, Earnhardt's number 3 was renumbered to number 29 to keep the Intimidators team going with a then young California kid from Bakersfield. The 29 car means a lot to Harvick personally, and Richard Childress gave his blessing for this number to be used for a special occasion. Photo on your screen courtesy of Stuart Haas Racing. Matt, does this add to the excitement leading up to this year's All-Star race, and how special is it for Harvick getting to run with 29 one final time?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I mean, my first year of watching NASCAR full-time was 2007, and that number was the first car I saw win that year at Daytona when he pit Mark Martin to the 500. And I then got to see that car in the museum in October when we went to Daytona on a family holiday. So, and he was my guy from there on in. That was awesome, and he's going to be my guy until this young pup behind me came along. So that they both of them ended up losing that race at Phoenix a couple of weeks ago. So I was quite annoyed about that. But yeah, 29 is cool. Shame it's not yellow and red. They were the colours of the day back then. But yeah, special number for those early Harvick days, and we'll never forget that Atlanta win, as you mentioned, when he came in from from nowhere really to pit Jeff Gordon at the end and win that race, and all the things that went along with that through those early years in the Goodwrench colours before transitioning to Shell. So yeah, really cool to see it back. I mean, we've had cars on the racetrack, haven't we, this week at North Wilkesboro? So the anticipation for that race is building. Going to be a good one, and another little wrinkle to the race to look forward to with Harvick in the 29.
Yeah, definitely. We got a few comments to read too. Behind the Mic says North Wilkesboro just gets more and more exciting by the day. I can't wait for the whole weekend. I knew, yeah, Carson Hocevar was tweeting about 3-second tire fall off, and you know that gets fans excited. And yeah, it's gonna be an exciting day for that day. And and he also continues, thank you for that memory.
I
Jeff
think
Gordon fan.
that's Matthew Owens behind that account, and he's a Jeff Gordon fan. So I think all the Earnhardt fans obviously love that day, but the Gordon fans had just lost out on another win there in that 2001 season.
Yeah, I think that the North Wilkesboro weekend is going to be fun. It's going to be extremely fun for me because that same weekend, ARCA is going to be at the ARCA East Series is going to be at Flat Rock that weekend, and that's actually my first race, and that's where Grid Network will kick off its at track coverage for the year. So it'll be exciting for me to go there. First time ARCA East has been at Flat Rock since I think 2000. So that'll be fun. But enough about that. Let's get to the main topic here. Kevin Harvick in the 29. That's got to be special. I mean, that's what I grew up with. I think became a NASCAR fan in 2003. So this is my 20th year as a fan. I'm excited. At the end of the day, we're all fans. This is my 7th year covering the sport, and gotten a chance to talk with a lot of great people over the time. And this is just special because this is, I think, Kevin's kind of that last guy, from the Winston Cup era that's still around. Kind of. Yes, Jimmy is still racing here and there, but he's really kind of the last one that's still racing full time and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty emotional day at a track that I think a lot of people thought was basically gone and left for dead. Now it's back. Thanks, Dale Jr.
Yeah, let's see if we can do Nazareth next. I know Dale's probably not watching this, but that would be on my list there. Behind the mic again, Matthew's saying, I mean, why can't we say it's a throwback to his 01 Chicago win? I know you're a Jeff Gordon fan, but I mean, I think the Atlanta win, means a lot more in the grand scheme of Harvick's career in NASCAR history there. So, I mean, I think that's what we've got to go with there if we're going to throw it back to the scheme here. But in all seriousness, it is great to see. It's not unprecedented for the All-Star race either. I'm thinking back to Jimmy Johnson, I think, ran the number 5 several years back. I think Lowe's was doing like a 5% credit card deal or something. So he moved over to the 5. Mark Martin moved over to the 25. Kyle Busch, I think, ran the 75 for Eminem's 75th anniversary. So it's been a little while since we've seen those one-off numbers come out. I think Eric Almirola even did one in a points race at Martinsville several years ago to honor Maurice Petty. I think they went from the 43 to the 41 for one race. So yeah, it's cool to see it happen again. And Kevin Harvick certainly has a worthy cause behind it to go back to that number for one race. So it's going to be really cool seeing that paint scheme back out on the track again. I do wish the number was in the center of a door though, but beggars can't be choosers with this next gen car, I suppose. Now we do have some more news regarding Kevin Harvick. On the Wednesday leading up to the All-Star race, he is also entering the Cars Tour late model stock race. He'll drive a number 62 Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford under a team name from the past, Kevin Harvick Incorporated, or KHI for short. This throwback paint scheme Harvick's running in this race is similar to the days of his late models in California, running those early in his racing career. Number 62 has special meaning because of his late father-in-law, John Paul Linville. Earlier this year, Harvick, along with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Burton, and Justin Marks, purchased the Cars Tour, making a strong investment in grassroots short-track racing. After announcing the purchase, Harvick vowed to get back behind the wheel of a late model, compete in this Southeast Regional Series, get to know the competitors, and simply return to his roots. In regards to his team, Harvick said it felt right. It felt like the right time to bring KHI back. However, for now, the team will only be used as a place for KHI management drivers to get some experience and compete in the Cars Tour, to get a better understanding of how to continue making the product better from a series ownership standpoint. More on the number 62, Harvick's wife, Delana, says she grew up watching her father, John Paul Linville, compete for their family-owned team using that number. Now, Kevin and Delana's son, Keelan, is using number 62 in the early days of his racing career. You might remember that from the iRacing Invitational as well. Delana said Keelan chose this number to set himself apart from his father and to be his own racer. Seeing her dad drive a number 62, Keelan and now Kevin, it really means a lot to the Harvick family. The graphic is courtesy of Clue Creative. So Casey, we'll start with you on this one. How cool is it to see Harvick returning to his roots and bringing the KHI name back in the Cars Tour?
Yeah, it feels like this is the year that everything's coming. What's old is new again. KHI's back. Let's see. The Craftsman Truck Series is back. I mean, North Wilkesboro's back. Kevin Harvick's driving the 29. Am I missing anything?
Trucks going back to IRP again. I know they did it last year, but they're back at IRP. So yeah,
though too. Yeah, it'll be fun to catch. It'll be fun to catch the trucks later this year. So yeah, I think it's kind of like the what's old is new again, and yeah, I think this new adventure for KHI is gonna be a good one, and I think that I think it could grow back into a truck team, and Kobe Lambeth mentioned in our private chat that Milwaukee Mile, of course, is back too. So it goes back to that what's old is new again. So yeah, it's I think it could go back to the truck team. And remember now this will be a throwback. Remember when he ran the Yardman truck? Remember that? And then we could see it in the Xfinity series and all that. But yeah, this is a big step, and I know that late model drivers, and yes, Matthew, the trucks are back in Milwaukee. It's gonna be a doubleheader with the Arca Menard series, so that'll be a good day out there. I know that Wisconsin race fans, boy, they pack wherever they go. It's good to say there. We got another Twitch comment. Who are you? Okay, never mind. So yeah.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? KHI is, and again, as you say, Casey, a throwback, not to days of yore. I'm not surprised that we'll see any of those new owners dropping in. Frankly, it was probably going to be between Kevin and Justin who would get a ride. Justin Marks was in Trans Am action a couple of weeks ago at Sebring, took a pole position in the Trans Am series at Sebring a few weeks back. More about Sebring later on in the show. But yeah, cool to see, and it's a family number there as well with a 62 for old and new. We're obviously going to see Keelan potentially running that number as he comes up through the ranks through his career. So a bit of a transitional Harvick number there. So going to be good to see. And again, in what is Kevin's last full-time year, I mean, there's been no fanfare really about Harvick so far this year about, he's stepping away like there was for Jeff Gordon and like there was for Jimmy Johnson in recent times. But it's nice to see that these things are starting to pop through now, and maybe we'll get some more Harvick reminiscences between now and the end of the season.
I wouldn't say there's been no fanfare. I mean, I think people are excited to see him go into the booth, and certainly the Harvick fans, are looking forward to seeing what he can do, and obviously nearly winning that race at Phoenix, I think, has put some positive momentum on Harvick's side this year. So, it may not be as grand of a retirement tour as, what we saw with Jeff Gordon, but I think there are still going to be quite a few tributes coming into Kevin as the year goes on, and certainly by the time we get to North Wilkesboro as well here. But for now, we move on. Some major news coming out of General Motors this afternoon. The 6th generation Chevrolet Camaro will retire from production. The final 6th generation Camaro is expected to come off the assembly line at the Lansing Grand River Assembly Plant in Michigan in January 2024. Scott Bell, Vice President of Global Chevrolet, said they won't be announcing an immediate successor, but promised this is not the end of the Camaro's story. The Chevrolet Camaro, of course, has a presence across motorsports in NASCAR, IMSA's Michelin Pilot Challenge, SRO GT4 competition, the NHRA, and the Repco Supercars Championship. Chevrolet Motorsports will continue to compete across the world. Graphic on your screen courtesy directly from Chevrolet. Matt, although a new model hasn't been announced yet, do you see a 7th generation Camaro being the most logical solution for Chevrolet in NASCAR, or would they go back to a different type of Chevy?
Oh, well, that's an open question, isn't it? My first thought, and you mentioned it, there was supercars have now just gone to the Camaro after having the Holden go away, and now they're going to have no Camaro again. So what a turn of events for the supercars administrative team and all the Chevrolet teams down under. But on the NASCAR side, let's see, maybe we'll go back to the Impala again or something along those lines. But it's a big name for them not to bring it back in. The next generation will be the 7th generation, as you say. Again, I mean, the automotive industry as a whole is in this transitional sort of fluxy period between full combustion engines and hybrid and electric and all sorts, where we're going to end up. We could, in 5 years' time, we could be having a completely different discussion about that kind of side, and that obviously spills down into the racing side. So it's going to be interesting to see what Chevrolet do come up with next.
Well, obviously, I have a front row seat to this because obviously, the big three is in my backyard. Obviously, if many people don't know, I do live here in Michigan, so it is. Obviously that's big news. But the thing is, General Motors has really kind of turned, has gone from a car company to a technology company in a way. But I do think that Chevrolet is one of the most iconic car companies in the world of manufacturers. And I know that they're going to make sure that they have their premier sports car taken care of, whatever that will be. I know that the Camaro name has been, it's a huge, it's a big deal. Could they go to the Corvette? I don't know. But it is kind of like the end of an era a little bit. But knowing Chevrolet, they'll make sure that the Camaro name is well protected.
Yeah, and of course they've run the Monte Carlo, the Impala, and the SS in fairly recent history, so it's not like Chevrolet hasn't made a switch on the NASCAR side of things before. So I'm sure they could do it again here. We'll see. It'll be interesting to follow in the coming months and next couple of years what happens with the next Camaro model, if there is one, or what direction Chevrolet goes in. Of course, we'll keep you all updated here on Grid in the future. Matt, I'm going to hand it back over to you now for the latest Grid EPI update.
Thanks, Ben. It was a busy weekend for our Grid Endurance Performance Index races, 3 of them across the weekend. It started on Friday at Sebring with the first round of the World Endurance Championship, won by Toyota after an 8-hour race on Friday into the dusk. Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi, and Jose Maria Lopez getting the victory in a 1-2 for Toyota. They didn't have the pole. Ferrari managed to scoop that one, but the hypercars did come to the fore, and the experience of the Toyota team got them the victory. In P2, the Hertz Team Jota car, which isn't running a full season for the P2 Championship, because hopefully they'll be getting their customer Porsche when we get to Spa by the end of April. But they were the winners. David Beckman in his first sports car race after refugeeing himself from Formula 2, alongside Porsche factory driver Yiffy Ye and Will Stevens, one of the winners from Daytona 24 Hours last year. They were the winners in P2. And in GT Am, Ben Keating, Nico Veroni, and Nikki Katzberg were winners in the Corvette in the now sole GT category in the WEC. The next WEC race is in about 3 weeks' time in Portugal at Portimao, where MotoGP will be this weekend. We'll have our pick of winners for MotoGP coming up shortly. And then they go to Spa at the end of April, and then it's the trip to France for the big one, the 100th running of the Le Mans 24 Hours. Plenty of coverage of that on the Grid Network as we build up to the big one in June. On Saturday at Sebring, we have the 12-hour, the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. That was one in dramatic circumstances, you may say. May have been termed as the Go Bowling Sebring 12 Hours towards the end of that race, because it was pretty carnage. Won by Cadillac in the end. Pipo Derani, Alexander Sims, and Nick Yellerly came out with the win after the multi-car crash towards the end. So they were the winners overall. In P2 and third overall, John Ferrano, Kiffin Simpson, and Scott McLaughlin. Another big win for Scott. So that's a trophy, another trophy for him. They were behind the 8 ball at Daytona after early setbacks, but showed good pace throughout the race, and this time they come away with a trophy. P3 was not good throughout the race. There's many videos of P3 cars running into cars under safety car, but Gar Robinson, Felipe Fraga, and Josh Burden, which is probably the strongest lineup in the series, came home with the winner. They won by 1 whole lap in that class. And in the 2 GT classes in the pro category, win for Porsche. We talked all about Porsche being under the cosh after Daytona and their balance of performance being way off, but they got a win here. Klaus Bachler, Patrick Pilet, and Lawrence Van Voor getting the win for the FAF team. And in GTD, there was a win for Brian Sellers, Madison Snow, and Corey Lewis. Next IMSA race, of course, is on the Saturday of Long Beach. So that's about 4 weeks away as well. I think that might actually be the same weekend as WEC Portimao. So that's going to be another busy EPI weekend. And the last race to tell you about from the weekend was the first race of the Nürburgring Landstrecke Series. That's the endurance championship that runs around the Nordschleife in Germany. 4-hour race at the weekend, won by BMW, the Rover Racing team. Dries Van Voor, the Belgian. So 2 wins for Van Voort at the weekend. Lawrence at Sebring and Dries at the Nürburgring, and Dries's teammate was Maxime Martin. So big points for those two. But in a quirk of the entry list and a quirk of the EPI, they do get a win, but they also got a non-finish because they were both entered in the second Rover BMW car, which then didn't finish because they put all the eggs in the basket of the one that ended up winning the race. So they get a win and a non-finish against their name in the EPI. So plenty of spreadsheet action was had over the last couple of days, getting it all updated. We've got some of our names from last year towards the top 10, including Dries Van Voort, Daniel Candela, and Mara Engel are now both inside the top 10. They finished top 10 last year. We'll have the first proper rollout of the top 10 after Easter, exclusively live on this show. You'll get to see the very first Grid EPI top 10 on the Wednesday after Easter. So looking forward to that. And we've got one race to come in EPI land this week. It's the first European race of the season for the Creventic Hankook series at Mugello. 12 hours. I think it's a 6-6 split. Saturday, Sunday, I think, is how they've got the race set out this weekend. So looking forward to that one. That's the only EPI race coming up this weekend. Bring you the results for that on next week's show.
Yep. And that's the 24-hour series for some people
Yes.
talk about there. And Roman I know the Heart of Racing team is actually going to be out there. So Marco Sorensen, Roman DeAngelis, they're going to be out there. I think they're in one of the classes. I can't remember which one, but I saw them on there. But yeah, it should be fun. But anyway, here's Kobe with more motorsports news from around the world.
Thank you, Casey. Derek Kraus will make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut at Richmond Raceway next weekend. Kraus will drive the number 10 Chevrolet Camaro for Colic Racing, the team's all-star car. This is good news for Kraus, who lost his full-time ride in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series with McAnally Hilgeman Racing. Last weekend in Atlanta, Christian Eck has won the truck ride. We've only seen Kraus in one race so far in 2023. That was the Truck Series season opener at Daytona. Will have this great opportunity in Xfinity to show what he's got in competitive equipment. The graphic you see on the screen, courtesy of Colic Racing. Sticking with the Xfinity Series, SS Greenlight Racing have parted ways with the driver number 06 Chevrolet Camaro, Blaine Perkins, effective immediately. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series regular Carson Hocevar will replace Perkins at COTA and attempt to make his Xfinity debut. As previously announced that Hocevar will compete in several Xfinity races later in the year with Spire Motorsports, who will have a technical alliance with Junior Motorsports. Team owner Bobby Daughter said he was disappointed with the start of the 2023 season and felt it was best, after speaking to the Perkins camp, that going in opposite directions would be the best move for all involved. McDonald's will sponsor the inaugural NASCAR Chicago Street Race weekend as the first founding partner. The Golden Arches will have official presenting, marketing, and promotion for the event on the streets of downtown Chicago. The NASCAR Cup Series race will be known as the Grant Park 220 next year, 121. McDonald's branding will be visible at the start-finish line near Buckingham Fountain. Fan entrances, concert stages, finding, and additional locations around the Chicago street course. We'll also see the brand being featured on NBC broadcast, MRN, and Sirius XM radio, including an expansive presence on NASCAR's digital street race. It's going to be a great weekend for the sport. All right, am I back, guys?
Yeah,
You're back.
Yep.
So how much of that did you hear?
I cut out after you said it's going to be a great weekend for the sport. So I guess
Okay.
that was the Bubba Wallace comment.
Yeah, and don't worry, everybody. Xfinity is not coming to give me Xfinity 10G, but someone is coming tomorrow to fix my AT&T internet. So hopefully we'll have this happening a lot less on these programs. It's getting very, very frustrating. But picking up where I left off, hopefully I'll be able to finish. Only have a little bit to go. Yeah, as I was saying, Bubba Wallace said the Chicago Street Race is going to be a great weekend for the sport as NASCAR has been introduced to a new diverse audience. He thinks the backdrop of downtown Chicago and the lake will provide a unique setting for the race. McDonald's is already a primary sponsor of 2311 Racing, so the team has extra incentive to perform well this Chicago, graphic courtesy of NASCAR Chicago. Red Bull Ampol Racing's appeal after Shane Van Gisbergen and Brock Feeney were disqualified from race 1 in Newcastle has been dismissed. The technical breach related to driver cooling systems will stand with Tickford Racing's Cam Waters keeping the win he inherited. A three-person panel held this appeal hearing in Melbourne, a hearing that lasted for over 3 hours before the appeal was dismissed. Photo courtesy of Supercars. And next is statement right here from Red Bull Ampol Racing. Triple Eight are disappointed in the decision to uphold the team's disqualification of both cars from race 1 of the Newcastle 500 for a technical breach. The team maintains our position that we were given an instruction allowing us to install the cooling boxes in a place that conferred no performance advantage at all, but respects the outcome delivered by the Supercars National Court of Appeal. Our sole focus now shifts to the upcoming Melbourne 400 and the remaining 3 Supercars championship season. So right there, statement from Red Bull Ampol Racing, the Triple Eight operation. And next, gonna throw it over to Matt for pick a winner.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that Red Bull thing when we get to the next fuel race in Supercars, which I think when the fuel's on the left-hand side of the car, which I don't think it actually is until Bathurst. So going to be interesting to see if that pops up again when we get later down the line for the great race in October. Pick a winner time then. We've got plenty of races to pick from this weekend and double MotoGP action because, of course, we've got the sprint races coming in this year, which is a half distance, half championship points race. You'll still get a full pick a winner point, though, if you pick the winner of the sprint race alongside the main race on the Sunday. So we're going to do that now for the Saturday sprint race, and then I guess we'll do the rest of the Sunday picks on the pre-show at the weekend. I have managed to get myself up to third, which is great on the old leaderboard there. Just 1 point behind you, Cody. We're all both catching Ed, so hopefully we can reel him in over the next couple of weeks. Of course, there is Formula E to pick for this weekend, of course, in Sao Paulo. But while we're talking MotoGP, I'm going to go with the world champion. I think Pecco Bagnaia has been the class act in pre-season testing. I think Ducati over the season will have the best bike, and I think Bagnaia will take home the first sprint race win of the season on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I think Pecco Bagnaia is definitely the safe pick here. I'm also going with him to win the race. And this year at Grid Network, we're going to be using the MotoGP sprint races to earn additional pick a winner points. And stay tuned if we're going to also use the few F1 sprint races as well. And there'll be extra opportunities to try to catch Ed throughout the year and have multiple opportunities to try to dethrone me as a 3-time pick a winner champion.
Well, of course, MotoGP is not one of the series I follow super closely here that we cover as part of our grid ranking. So I will just defer to Matt and Kobe on this one. It won't mean I'll close in on them, but maybe we can all close in on Ed here. And Adam Lemeries will be right there with us as well. I'm going to say Pecco Bagnaia just for the heck of it. Why not?
Yeah, let's go with I think I got to go with Pecco too. Let's go with let's go with Marquez to take the big win in MotoGP. Why not? Let's make all my picks since I'm not on the pre-show. Joshua Birch says it'll be a Ducati, which right. is a name that I don't know. So yeah, and Chicago Pizza was also up for sponsor, but it wasn't hot enough. Ooh, interesting. We also have it's a busy week here at Pick a Winner, so it is MotoGP. Formula E is at Sao Paulo this weekend, and then NASCAR is at COTA, so that'll be interesting. Formula E, who should I take there? Let's go with Sam Bird. Why not? Let's take him. Well, it's maybe he can get me a point. I don't know. Take whoever Ed's taking. That's my advice for Formula E. And then for Cup, let's go out on a limb. I need points because I joined late, and let's go with Kyle Larson. He's going to take the win at COTA this week. Remember, don't forget to submit your picks for 2 MotoGP races, 1 Formula E race, and the NASCAR Cup race at COTA. Joshua Birch says, Evans, I have a feeling. Not locking it in yet. Well, you just said it, so that should be interesting there. All right, let's throw it back over to Matt White because it's time for our newest and most favorite segment on Grid tonight. It's Hots and Knots.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. I'm going to throw to a quick knot to literally outside the window. Remember that COTA rain a couple of years ago? It's doing exactly the same here now. It's absolutely throwing it down as we speak. That's not my knot, but we'll get to them later. But we'll start with hots then. Our hots and knots of the week. If you're watching live, don't forget to drop your comments in and we'll discuss and post those up on the screen. Ben, we'll start with you as the stand-in this week. What is your hot from the weekend that was?
Well, I think we were talking on the pre-race show. I've got several knots ready to go. I wasn't expecting to go first on this, but I'll come up with a hot soon enough here. Let me see. Well, I don't know. Maybe Kobe, you take this because I did not have a hot.
Sorry,
prepared. Go ahead. I got to think for a second.
Okay. My hot for the week was that save coming off turn 4 for Austin Hill at the end of the Xfinity race. I thought he was going to wreck there with Parker Kligerman and end up hanging onto it, getting the win. Thought it was a great save by Hill to be able to keep the wheel straight and win the race.
You know, I guess on that note, I'll make my hot Parker Kligerman because I know he didn't quite get the win that he was going for, but he still ran up front and had a shot at it there at the end as part of the finish. It's unfortunate that he got turned, but that's another good one as well. Matthew saying hot for the weekend and the first 5 weeks as a whole for me is Corey LaJoie. It's been a great start to the year, particularly the Cup race at Atlanta this past weekend. Josh Birch saying hot Formula 2 sprint was amazing. Not
was
yeah. Well, enough said there.
Casey, you're hot for the weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I know I gave my one shining moment on the wrap-up show to I think it was the Action Express team and overall the IMSA 12 Hours of Sebring, and I think I gave my encore since I wasn't on encore on Monday. I think that was to Christian Eckes and BMR, but I think this week I am going to give it to anyone that's going. You know what? Let's just do that. BMR, Bill McAnally Racing. They get a that's my hot of the week. Actually, I should say McAnally Hilgeman Racing. That's the truck team. Bill McAnally Racing is the ARCA team. And Christian Eckes getting his first win with that team, the 19 truck. It's that team is as I've said before. That is the team to beat, I think, right now in the truck series. I know we're only 3 races in. Adam Lemmer says hot is his truck and cup testing at North Wilkesboro. The not is the 3 leaders crashing out at the 12 Hours of Sebring. Well, as you know, as Kobe and I said on the Gridlock on the wrap up show, I mean, those are just that's just going for the win, man. It's so I mean, you know, I'm happy to be. And by the way, I'm happy to be I'm filling your shoes, man. It's an honor as you kind of left a legacy, and I'm taking it over. So thanks for that. So yeah, but overall, it was a pretty good weekend. But yeah, my hot is MHR and Christian Eckes. Who's your
my hot, and then I'll do my not straight away because they both come from the same event at the weekend, which was Rally Mexico. Sebastian Ogier, record-breaking 7th win at the event, and he's a part-timer, but he's leading the championship. 2 wins from 2 starts from 3 events in the season, so he could be on for a championship, even though he's not doing all the events. He is in Croatia, which is the next event in, I think, 4 weeks' time for the next round of WRC. My not is the man that probably should have won the event, which is Esa-Pekka Lappi, who had, in his own words, the best day of his career on Friday, and then ended up crashing on the first stage on Saturday morning and backed it into a telegraph pole and wrecked his Hyundai. So that's 2 big crashes he's had now in 2 events, because he was in podium contention in Sweden and ended up in a snowbank, and in the winning contention here at Mexico the weekend, and found a telegraph pole and was out. Josh says Ferrari were not hot either, to be honest, running around with a captain who has no control this season. There's only 2 races in. There was a tweet from Carlos Sainz today saying, you know, keep supporting us. We're trying our best, etc., etc. We'll have to see how they go in Melbourne. Of course, Leclerc winning there last year. That's the Australian Grand Prix. Next weekend, we'll have probably some talk about that on the show next week. Ben, you said you had many knots, so fire away.
Well, I'll leave some of the other knots for the rest of the crew here, but I think probably the biggest knot has to be the FIA. I think Josh mentioned it in the chat here, to give Fernando Alonso a penalty and then have him serve the penalty and then wait to give him another penalty until after the race was over and after he'd celebrated his milestone 100th podium. And then to see the backlash and then take the penalty away was just a comedy of errors. But then again, I suppose that's on brand for the FIA. I don't think very many people trust them anymore. But I know there were plenty of knots to choose from this weekend, so we'll see what the others have here.
Kobe?
My knot's going to be my internet. because at this point, this is just going to become a running joke here at Grit Network. I can't even get a word in before my internet's cutting off, and it'll probably cut off before I'm finished with my answer here. As badly as it's going, thankfully the internet guy's coming tomorrow, so hopefully this will be just a small little bump in the road. But in all seriousness, my knot's going to be Porsche Penske motor crashing out at the end of 12 hours of the season. Like Porsche was going to finish on the podium, and then unfortunately, ended up retiring from the race. Really unfortunate that happened. But Casey, like you said, it was an overall win there at Sebring. Just a unfortunate raciness, and we'll see Porsche once we get to the streets of Long Beach in just a few weeks' time.
Yeah, it's going to be the same weekend as the 6 hours of Portimao. So another big IMSA WEC weekend, and of course a huge weekend next week at Grid, because NASCAR's at Richmond, IndyCar's at Texas, the trucks are at Texas, and then of course F1's in Australia. So another massive weekend here at Grid, because the season's really kicking off. Of course, MotoGP kicks off this coming weekend, so we're in full swing. I don't know if anyone noticed that here, but we are. My knots, there are two of them. Hello.
I'm literally not that good, but I cannot not say this about Ferrari because literally I'm not even set up. I was watching and I thought I have to come in. I do apologize for the dressing gown. I am dressed, I promise you. It's very cold. I've got the window open, if you can just see there. I'll try without coughing, but I have not just been sat in bed for the past 4 days recovering from COVID. I have been emailing, talking to people as well. And I saw something that David Croft put yesterday on as well. And I've been looking around today and emailing people, and it is true. Ferrari's power that they had, because they were quite good in their first stint at the Grand Prix. They had good pace. Then they went on to the hard compound tyre. They never turned their engines down. They just struggled. That was their maximum pace. So Ferrari are really struggling in terms of the fact is that they can't get the maximum energy output out of the car. The hard tyre Pirelli doesn't like the car. The setup's all wrong. So Ferrari are just going in a self-destruct. We heard the stewarding as the brain cover. We heard from what the engineer said as well to Charles Leclerc way too late about telling him to push Lewis Hamilton as well. That it came from Lawrence Mekas as well. Lawrence Mekas, who I said shouldn't be in Formula One anymore after what happened last year, but he sort of stayed for another year because the new team principal Frederick Vasseur doesn't have the power yet. He's sort of got 6 months to sort of see what's wrong with Ferrari, then start molding it before the real changes we see going into 2024. So Ferrari are sort of in a transition period, but in a struggling period as well. So the car's wrong, the engine's wrong, the tyres are wrong, the setup's wrong, the team's wrong, the drivers are getting more and more frustrated. And I'm sensing a lot of negativity that's going to happen. I would be surprised if both Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are going to look for other drives. If it continues like this going into the summer break, they will be out of there immediately. And well, thank you for that bit of sunshine. Well, it's literally how I've been for the past 3 days as well. I've been kept up with these 4 rules. But yeah, so Ferrari really are struggling. And about the FIA as well, there is a meeting on Thursday where they are going to talk about the rules about these pit stops, because we saw it in Bahrain with the mechanics of Esteban Ocon changing the front wings of the car inside 5 seconds. And of course, here in Saudi Arabia, it was the rear jack touching Fernando Alonso inside the 5 seconds. It was constantly attacked. So the new rule that should be coming in on Thursday from the World Motorsport Council is you're not allowed to touch the car, whatever. And then the teams are probably going to argue about it, but that's what's happening there. And I've run out of my words, so I'm going to leave now. But I thought that I couldn't not say that to you guys as well, because there was so much that's happened that I've been finding out, and I've been literally itching to tell you all, and I can't be bothered to type because my brain just fogs out. So thanks for that. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, stick around. I do have something to tell you at the end of the show. I don't want to say it yet, but
can I, while Josh is here, question for the group while you're here as well, Josh, because this is kind of what you just mentioned. Should time penalties be allowed to be served under safety car and or virtual safety car? No, is my answer.
No. And I even said this in the race commentary. In fact, that's the TikTok I nicked today because I haven't been able to make any. I said in the commentary on Sunday with Jess and Josh, who joined me, is he allowed to serve the 5 seconds? Because it used to be a rule, didn't it, where when the safety car was out, you're not allowed to serve your time penalties. That, I understand, got changed this year. So that's why, and it's only race 2. So I would like that rule to be changed back, because it's an unfair advantage. You in Saudi Arabia, you only lost I think was it 11 seconds or something like that under a safety car pit stop. So it's not very good that he was able to serve that.
I was all confused when they were telling George afterwards that he'd already served the penalty. I was like, well, how can he have done? Because he pitted under safety car. So
it was a really weird situation because I had a stopwatch on it as well. Then he was serving it, so I thought, oh, he served it, and then nothing came up. I was expecting when the safety car came in, instantly involving Alonso and investigation incorrect serving a penalty, because it never came up. And then that 49 happens, and it all started with Mercedes telling George Russell he might have the penalty, and that was interesting because, of course, the team principals aren't allowed to talk to the race director anymore. But the sporting directors can still speak to the race director. So Mercedes were very clever in letting us know and Aston Martin know that they had asked the stewards to look into this penalty by saying to George over the public radio, in many respects, yeah, just keep pushing, you might have a penalty.
Yeah.
And then that's when we found out. Then it happened after the race and it took 4 hours. In my opinion, I'm going to go controversial. It should have been a penalty because if we go by the letter of the law, Esteban Ocon had a wing change started. He got a 10-second penalty. So why is Fernando Alonso different? Where's the consistency again from the FIA? Whereas Ocon got the 10-second penalty because someone was touching the wing, someone's touching the rear jack and is attached to the car. That should be 10 seconds. So I don't understand why it's changed that way. Also, the starting grid position boxes, everyone's saying, well, that's because the winglets on the wheels. No, it's because the wing mirrors are bigger this year. The wing mirrors are 2 meters bigger either side. So that when the drivers look at the side of the car to see the yellow line, you can't see it because the wing mirrors are there. It's like putting like that to your eyes as well. Can you see anything in your peripheral vision since then? No, it's blocked off. That's what's happening. So there's a lot more that the FIA need to do. And that's why I said for the knot, it's the FIA. They are failing on the basic fundamentals of what they should do with the rules. So there's a lot going to be talked about tomorrow. And I'm hoping I can bring you that on Monday at least in the Encore show. Or maybe this next week when I'm hopefully back because I look, this is, where is it? I've dropped something now. I tested positive on Sunday and I had to do the race with COVID. And then I tested positive today, sadly, still as well. But it's a slightly thinner line. So I'm getting better.
That's good.
I'm having moments, but I'm not looking forward to. I'm off PSGL tomorrow as well, so that's a bit upsetting me. But I'm not looking forward to the weekend where I've got to cover 2 MotoGP races and a Formula E. So this should be fun. But anyway, if there's anything else while I'm here, I've got the hood of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So.
There's something I want to tell you after the show that I want to get your reaction to, and everyone here knows what it is. I'm not going to say it. By the way, there's 4 Cup drivers in Xfinity and I think 3 in trucks this weekend at COTA. So that'll be interesting. Oh yeah, my knots. My first knot.
Not right there.
What?
That's Josh's not right there. All the Cup drivers in the Xfinity and truck races.
Next week.
Yes. Yeah, because Kyle Busch is I think Kyle Busch is in the truck race, and they're going to be at North Wilkesboro and all that fun stuff. And yeah, my not is whoever the LMP2 car decided to. You remember the one that ran into the Porsche during the 12 Hours of Sebring? That was one of them. Who was? I think it was the Performance Tech car, the 38.
P3, yeah.
Yeah, it was the LMP3. There might be some news on that toward the. I think we talked about this on the IMSA pre-race show, the Sebring, that I brought up that the current LMP2 cars are going to go through 2025, and the decision on LMP3 will be made in mid-May. And I believe it was. I believe that I think LMP3 does go after this year, in my opinion, and what I've heard. So. More on that to come as there. Oh, and then, by the way, the second one, it also kind of involves a Porsche. It doesn't. Remember this video that's going around Twitter of this guy that decides to pull the damage off? I think it was the 6 or the 7. What are you doing? Don't be an idiot. You're going to get arrested for that. Yeah. So, for anybody that I can't, yeah. Yeah.
Don't get me, Red Bull.
And for anyone that decides that wants to pull things out of cars, don't, because you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, that was on the side of the floor way after the session ended. that was brushed up by the marshals. They didn't go up and nick it off Danny Kvyat's car.
Yeah.
I think it was Kvyat in 19. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
For sure.
When he crashed at turn 9.
Yeah. And that's my knots of the week. And I'll throw it over to Ben to close out the show.
Thank you for that, Casey. Josh, again, it's good to see you. I hope you're on the mend, and hopefully we'll see you this weekend or next week for sure.
I'll definitely be on some point this weekend. In what capacity, I don't know. Yeah, it's been nice to chat a little bit because I'm starved of human contact. I've literally been kept in this room that is painted grey, it's like a prison cell, and I've been in here since Sunday evening, and I've not left. Well, I think
just like Josh Williams.
Yes, yeah. NASCAR locked me up because of all the things I've been saying. But no, honestly, I don't know. Joe had it, didn't he, at the start of the year? And I know some of you guys have had it as well. It's like, I don't know how. This is the first time I've actually had it in 3 years. And
I had it at the beginning of 21.
Yeah, you can see, can't you? Look, like the redness of me and the puffy eyes as well. And you can probably tell by the voice, but it hits you like a ton of bricks. It really does.
I mean, I had it in 21. It was
yeah. It's the waking up in the morning that I can't stand, because it's just, if I sleep, that is, because back pain. You wake up and then it's just like you feel so drained. It's like, I honestly, guys, there's proof here. I didn't get here. I nearly missed the race on Sunday. It was 12:30. Formula 2 started at 1, and I was still in bed. I couldn't get out. I had to drag myself down. I nearly missed the race, and that's how bad I was. I had to drag myself in to do it. It was unbelievable. I will never miss a race, and I hate missing broadcasts. And I thought I'd just come on and rattle off some nice positive thoughts about Ferrari to cheer Matthew up. Birthday present for him.
For sure. And by the way, big jam-packed weekend we have here at Grid. Of course, the Encore show is going to be jam-packed too, because we have Xfinity, we have trucks. I'm going to be a busy person this week because we have ARCA East at Five Flags. That's we have the opener there. Plus, I have all the USF series at Sebring this weekend. So, and they're running the big long course. So yeah, juniors, USF 2000, and USF Pro. That's going to be exciting, and it'll be very interesting. I'll say that. And of course, we got Moto 2 and Moto 3 too. So, and Moto E.
I forgot about Moto 2, Moto 3, and Moto 8. Oh, God. I generally forgot they existed until just then. That's 6 races I've got to cover. Oh, God. I generally forgot about that.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big test. Go on, Ben. Close out. I need to go.
Sure. Lots to look forward to. We're going to give you the upcoming schedule right now. Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, Women in Motorsports will be back. The big focus will be Dorian Pin finishing on the podium in LMP2 at the WEC 1,000 miles of Sebring. Saturday at noon Eastern, we'll have Grid Live pre-race. Then on Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas. And then, as Casey was mentioning, a jam-packed encore show on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, recapping Trucks and Xfinity at COTA, plus the ARCA East season opener at Five Flag Speedway, among some other series as well. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach the milestone of 500 subscribers. Now let's see if we can reach our new ambitious goal of 1,000 subscribers before the Indianapolis 500 on May 28th. At the moment, we're less than 25 subscribers away from hitting 600. So tell your friends and family about Grid Network. Get them to subscribe as well. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you get notified every time we upload a new video or host a new show. And of course, you can follow us on all our other social media platforms as well, and visit our website, gridranking.com. If you really liked what you saw tonight, you can take 5 minutes after the show to invest in Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Deschelle, Mark, Robin, and David in investing each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join this amazing group of people who help keep us on air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start expanding our coverage, adding new members to the team, and having an increased Grid Network presence on site covering the races from the track, as well as giving more content to all of you. Link to that is in the video description box below. If you would rather make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board right here, invest as much as you want, consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish, Casey Campbell, Matt White from Grid EPI, and Joshua Birch, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time on Grid Tonight.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.